And right now, we are 2 minutes away from the end of the trading day. Romaine Bostick alongside David Gura, here to take you through to the closing bells with the global simulcast. It starts right now. Massar and Tim Stenovec in the radio room. Katie Greifeld on assignment today. Welcome to our audiences across all of our Bloomberg platforms, including our partnership with YouTube. Massar, you have a grin on your face. I haven't seen you in days. I don't know where you've been. But we talk about a market that's on the back foot today for a second straight day. And I think really trying to get their handle around economic conditions, corporate earnings, and, of course, whatever the heck is going on in Washington these days.
Yeah, right. Taking your cues from so many different places makes it really hard to figure out strategy. Having said that, even though the S&P 500 is down for a second day, you dig inside the index and you've got more names, more than 300, actually gaining ground on this Wednesday. So it's good to dig a little bit deeper to get a little bit more of what's going on in terms of investors' thinking.
It does look like the S&P 500 will close down for a second consecutive day. And if that does indeed happen in the next, 40 seconds, this will be the first.
Good call, Tim.
Sorry, excuse me. Go ahead. What did you say?
Nothing. Keep going.
Okay, all right.
Technical difficulties.
Yeah.
Why do
David's like, what did I get
David
myself?
has no idea.
This is to answer the question, David. This is what you got yourself into.
This is what happens on weekdays.
This is what happens.
For those who know, David Gura anchors our weekend lineup here.
Okay,
he has no idea what goes on Monday through Friday.
I just want to point out
David.
that year to date, we're still up more than 1% on the S&P, and we're only 14 days into this year.
Absolutely. Though we are getting a meaningful pullback here today. You add that to some of the softness that we saw yesterday, and it is raising a lot of questions about exactly where investor sentiment is. We're going to walk you through these numbers because it is a somewhat complex day on Wall Street. You take a look at the Dow Jones Industrial Average. We're just going to kind of call it unchanged on the day. It is down in the red, down about 40 points, but less than 0.1% on the day. We saw a more meaningful drop lower on the S&P 500, which shed more than 30 points, or about 0.5% on the day. The NASDAQ Composite down more than 200 points, or 1% on the day, a similar percentage drop for the NASDAQ 100. But you go into the cyclical space. Dow Transports unchanged on the day. S&P equal weight up 0.4%. S&P 400 midcaps up 0.1%, and the Russell 2000 adding about 18 points, or 0.7%, a ninth straight day of outperformance relative to the S&P 500, the longest streak of outperformance, Massar, since 1990.
Wow.
I wasn't alive then, but I'm sure it was exciting.
1990? Yeah. What were you, like 30 already? 40? I don't know, something like that.
Yeah.
Hey, let's go inside. I love
Button.
I love how you went deeper, because I do think you can't just look at the major market averages, because there's a lot more going on. Having said that, dig inside the S&P 500, David. You've got 318 names actually gaining ground on this Wednesday, 184 lower, one unchanged.
Let's pull up the IMAP function on the IMAP function here on the terminal and look at that on a sector-by-sector basis. And the story here today has been one of a rotation. Do we have one that has begun in earnest and has some staying power? And you just look at those sectors, sort of what the decliners are. Information technology, one of the biggest decliners. Energy, consumer staples, real estate. So I think adding fuel to this fire, this sense that maybe there is this rotation underway. Of course, there is this. We got to see if it sticks. That's the problem. We'll see what happens here tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly. All right. And certainly a lot coming out, investors. All right, let's get to some of the individual gainers, if I may. In the green, see, look at that outperformance today. You got Dow, the number 2 gainer in the S&P 500. Lyondell, ticker LYB. That's the number 1. I think Dow is the number 2 gainer in the S&P 500. This is coming after Citi analyst Patrick Cunningham removed the 90-day downside catalyst watch on the stocks as polyethylene prices improve and ethane prices fall, helping the firm's integrated margins. You also had U.S. chemical stocks rising as higher oil prices were giving gas-based producers an advantage, and analysts see upside for U.S. chemicals and fertilizer firms. So you have that play, and that's maybe some of the story. So Dow up about 6.5%, Lyondell up about 6.8%. Some outperformance. And then flip it on over to Mosaic, ticker MOS. It, too, was a top gainer in the S&P 500. Morgan Stanley analyst Nigel Daly maintains an equal weight on the stock, raises the price target from 33 to 35, stock closing at just under $28 a share. So that's certainly at play. And then I just want to mention Strategy, ticker MSTR, top in the NASDAQ 100. Bazinga Newswire noting that one of the strategy directors, Carl Ricketson, bought about 5,000 shares of the company for the first time in 3.5 years. And that's after the stock crashed nearly 70% from its November peak. So that purchase by this director marking a reversal from his previous pattern of selling shares, having filed 19 separate SEC forms showing only stock sales over the past 3.5 years. So insider buying, right, always often seen as a positive sign. So we'll see. Time will tell. Because
I just want to add one honorable mention in there, Carol, and that's with Critical Metals, which was up more than 30% here on the day. A small cap company, but one that could potentially benefit from whatever the heck is going on between the U.S. and Greenland.
All right, let's get to some of the decliners now. I want to start with the banks. Bank of America, Wells Fargo, and Citigroup all falling. Bank of America down close to 4%. Wells Fargo down 4.6%. Citigroup down 3.3%. We're going to talk about this with Kat Doherty in just a second, but all of these banks reported earlier today. We heard different things from all of them. Citi's Jane Fraser saying that telling employees the bar is raised. She signaled further job cuts to come. Bank of America shares declined amid concerns about expenses, even though equity traders posted their best fourth quarter ever. And Wells Fargo missed analyst profit estimates as severance costs drove up expenses. Also taking a look at tariff-related stocks. Those today
That's just
slid.
one decliner?
That's just one. This is all for you, Carol.
Jeez.
Finley said this is okay, our producer.
Actually, Finley said.
I checked with her.
Actually, Finley said Tim next with his 5 million decliners.
Okay, that's how we're, you know, when a lot of stocks are down, I got to, use it to my advantage.
All right.
Mattel, Hasbro, Lululemon all took a hit today. These, after the Supreme Court did not issue an opinion on the legality of those IEEPA tariffs. We'll see when we hear from the Supreme Court next if we do get some clarity there. We're going to be speaking to Rick Woldenberg over at Learning Resources. He's actually one of the CEOs who's bringing this lawsuit to the Supreme Court. He's going to join us in our 4 o'clock hour. And finally, look at hotels, resorts, and cruise lines today taking a hit. This is the S&P 1500 Hotels, Resorts, and Cruise Lines Index down 1.41%. We could also say home builders also fell today. Yeah. This after the U.S. State Department gears up to suspend processing visas for people from dozens of countries, including Brazil and Nigeria.
And just add honorable mention to that, really the big drop
I did every stock that was lower today, Romaine. There are no honorable mentions.
You did not, actually. You actually missed the software stocks. We saw a big downdraft in a lot of those names like AppLove and Intuit, DocuSign, and quite a few others, particularly the application software stocks. Keep an eye on that space here as investors do continue that rotation. And keep an eye on what's been going on in the bond market. We did see a more meaningful move in Treasury yields on the back of that economic data, and it was to the downside. A 4 basis point drop on the long end of the curve. Your 30-year yield down 4 basis points. Similar move for your 10-year yield, your 2-year yield down about 2 basis points. And we should point out the move on the 10-year and the 30-year down, the most meaningful drop that we've seen on a one-day basis in at least about 2 months.
All right, let's get to some stories that definitely jumped up on our radar. And this one has to do with the former New York City Mayor Eric Adams promoting a new crypto asset. It's called NYC Token. Portion of the proceeds going to fight anti-Semitism and educate children about the blockchain, Tim.
People are not happy, though, because the value of the token surged as high as 58 cents. Then it crashed under 10 cents. Crypto market observers drawing parallels to a, quote, rug pull. This was kind of a thing that happened with the meme coins in the past. You'll remember Eric Adams wanted to be the first crypto mayor.
Yes.
Did accept a couple of his first paychecks.
Yeah.
In crypto.
Well, he was the first on a lot of things as mayor, not always necessarily good things. I do just want to point out, because I was looking at this. At one point, we talked about a market cap for this particular coin, which is $NYC, $600 million. It came in at $100 million. As of right now, at least based on the pricing on CoinMarketCap, $10 million. Now, you're the crypto expert, Tim Stenovec. I believe you host a show called Crypto.
Tuesdays at noon.
Something, right? Yeah. Is it Crypto IRL?
No, this is Bloomberg Crypto.
Oh, sorry. Is that too soon?
Sorry?
All right, we're going to move on here because another big story that we've been keeping an eye on, actually, in all seriousness, though, I mean, in addition to the rug pulls potentially going on in the crypto space, there's been a lot of concern about the health of the consumer and really the health of retail. We just learned that Saks, the company overseeing Saks Fifth Avenue, Bergdorf Goodman, and Neiman Marcus, filing for bankruptcy. And this is raising a lot of questions here, A, about whether somebody will actually buy them out of bankruptcy, but also just really about whether, like, these types of companies, particularly those with the big brick and mortar presence, can still survive.
I lean on the old cliche from Ernest Hemingway, how do you go bankrupt gradually and then suddenly? And that's very much the story here, Romaine. Looking at how this company was doing, there was a lot of positive talk, a lot of infusion of cash earlier this year. That has changed with this Chapter 11 filing for Saks. They are optimistic, however, that later this year they will get out of.
Didn't they just buy
Chapter 11.
Neiman Marcus a year ago?
Yeah, they had the big roll-up a year ago. They brought in Bergdorf, Neiman. They were supposed to be kind of like, Voltron together. They were going to be stronger than apart.
They issued a lot of
here we
debt,
are a year
right,
later.
to do it.
And I think they're counting on Neiman's former CEO to get them through this. So it's all in the family.
Yeah.
All I know is...
All right, we got to let you guys go because Tim's having trouble hearing. There's something going on with Carol's hair today that's throwing me off. I don't know what's happening over there.
It's great to see Carol.
Yeah.
David, are you going to come back
David.
tomorrow, do you think?
If asked, I'll serve. I believe that
Hey,
the
David,
great Katie Greifel will be back.
You can come back.
Thank you very much.
That other guy, not so much.
We've just met, he and I.